Hi, welcome to Papa's Workshop. This is day 2 of my workshop makeover. Today I was able to get several things done. I added the additional power outlet and a cable because we're going to put up the big monitor across the back wall. I got all my concrete board up and I'm going to show you the tip on how to cut the concrete board with no dust. That will be good to see. And then we're going to do a little bit of sheetrock work as well, and I'm going to show you how to patch a hole. So let's get started. Concrete board is actually a lot easier to cut than people realize. The first thing you do is after you have the measurement, you're going to score the concrete board with a utility knife. Now you need to score this several times. Now off camera I went ahead and scored it a couple of times to begin with, and then I went ahead and I want to show you on camera cutting this. Once you have it scored, then you hold it on the workbench and you press down on the edge, and you can see it just breaks right off and there's no dust at all. And that makes for a nice clean break, and that is the absolute best way to cut concrete board. So after cutting the concrete board, I just go ahead and slide it in place and line it up exactly where it needs to be. Now I am using the nail gun. I'm using the 1¼ brad nailer, and yes, that is a little bit small of a nail, but the reason that I'm using concrete board is that this home that I live in actually is prone to flooding. So that's why you see the pressure treated studs in place and the concrete board on the walls. Because that way, if I should happen to have a flood, then I can just pop off the concrete board, clean everything, and put it back. For this next piece that I'm cutting, I'm going to go ahead and take the measurements, and I want to do this in real time for you so you can actually see how easy it is. So now I'm just going to go ahead and transfer the measurements onto the board. And I want to point out to you, I know there's a lot of people out there that use a skill saw or a circular saw to do the cutting, and boy, guys, you know if you've done it, it makes a ton of dust. This way, using the utility knife and scoring this concrete board in this manner eliminates all the dust. So again, I'm doing this in real time so that you can see exactly how I'm doing this. And this is the 3rd time that I've scored, and here's number 4. So you want to score the concrete board really good. Once that's done, you slide it over to the edge of the workbench so the piece is supported, and then starting at the end, we're going to press down and let the concrete board work its magic. It takes a few minutes for those fibers to be able to release. But once they start to release, it pretty much releases all at once. So just hold that pressure, don't get into a rush, and you'll see that it just breaks right in half, exactly the way it needs to be. There you go. That's what you want. To install the concrete board, again, it's really quite easy. Now there's really no place for my fingers to grab hold and hold it, so I am using a pry bar and a little piece of wood to be able to act as a fulcrum to create some leverage. Then I can just step on it, raise the concrete board right up in place where it needs to be, and then nail it in place. And that's the simplest, easiest way that I can do it by myself. I want to show you one last time just how easy it is to cut this concrete board. Now I scored it already a couple of times, but I wanted to be able to have this line here, and as you saw before, I cut it 4 times, and that's, works out pretty well. Now set the tools aside, and I go ahead now and apply pressure starting at the end. And you can see where the concrete board is already given away. I'm going to shift the camera a little bit so you can see it, and I just bend it on down and it breaks loose. Really easy. Now that this final piece is cut, I want to be able to slide it in place. And I didn't want to take the cabinet down, so I just slid this right behind the cabinet, and it did. It worked out real well. This was a whole lot easier than unloading that cabinet, taking it off the wall, and putting this piece in, and then putting all that back. So, a little unconventional, but it works, and that's all that counts. Now, I went ahead and added the cable, because the cable actually is for a network TV, because I have an antenna, and I feed it through the cable lines. And I also added the electrical outlet to be able to support the TV, so I will have no wires showing. Now for the little bonus section, I want to go ahead and add the sheetrock into this area, and that way it'll be completely finished. Now these are little odds and ends scrap sheetrock that I had laying around, again, back to my scrap bin. So I just used what would work, and I would screw it into place. Now that the sheetrock's in place, I can take the utility knife and just score it, break it off, and I have a perfect fit. So no need to measure anything with these scraps. So that works out pretty well. It's a whole lot easier, and quite frankly, it saves a lot of time doing it this way. Yeah, and what's nice, my little leftover scrap will work for the piece up top. Can't beat that. Trying to use all the little scraps that I possibly can. Now for the last thing. I've got to repair this hole. This hole's been here actually for a long time, and I've always wanted to do it, but I just never got around to it. And I wanted to show this on camera. So here you go. First thing I'm doing is just cutting out all the jagged, broken up area and removing that part of the sheetrock and getting rid of it. And now what I'm left with is a nice square rectangle that I can fit my new piece of sheetrock into. Okay, no tape measure here. I just take the scrap piece and bring it up to the area, mark it with a utility knife for my length and my width, and then I just go and cut it. Can't get any easier than that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take a old paint stick, and I'm going to cut it where it's about 4 inches longer than the hole. With this cut, you can see how it's longer, and I'm just going to slide it in place and then screw it into position. And that's going to give the support that I need to hold the sheetrock in place. Now, with the stick in place, I just screw it and pull it up tight, and that will secure it. The first one is always the hardest screw to be able to get in. And then I'll just do the same thing down at the bottom and screw it in place to be able to secure it. I normally like to have at least 2 screws on the top and bottom, but because of the limited space, I can only have the 1 screw at the bottom, but I do go ahead and secure it with that second screw at the top. Then the last step, I'm just going to drop in my new piece of sheetrock, and it fits perfect, and I'll secure that in place with a couple of screws as well. And with that done, my patch is complete. All that's left is to do the tape and floating. The paint stick works for a really good support for behind the sheetrock. Hi everyone, thank you for watching my video today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. Also, check out the videos over here to be able to stay up to date on the happenings in my shop. So again, thank you for watching my videos.